This isn't an update, it's a chess move. Mark Gurman just said the iPhone 18 Pro won't be a big update. He compared it to Apple's old S years, those incremental refreshes that used to bore us before we learned to appreciate refinement. But here's what struck me. Apple's own supply chain whisperer is managing expectations a year ahead of launch. That's not a leak, that's a signal. And if you look at what's actually coming, the variable aperture camera, the A20 chip built on a 2 nanometer process, Apple's custom C2 modem, on paper, these are substantial upgrades. So why the underwhelming framing? Because Apple wants you to look somewhere else. Gurman explicitly said the iPhone 18 Pro won't be the star of Apple's iPhone launch this fall. The Foldable will. Think about that for a second. Apple is deliberately positioning its flagship line as the supporting act to a new form factor they've resisted for years. This is classic Apple psychology. They don't enter a market until they can redefine it. Samsung has been making foldables since 2019. Google entered with the Pixel Fold in 2023. Apple waited, and now by launching their foldable alongside the iPhone 18 Pro, they're saying something without saying it. The rectangle is solved. The future is something else. But here's where it gets interesting. The iPhone 18 Pro isn't being neglected. It's being stabilized. Apple knows that most Pro buyers aren't chasing novelty. They're chasing consistency. The creative professionals, the photographers, the people who actually use these devices for work, they don't want a radical redesign every year. They want their workflows to keep working. Let's talk about that variable aperture camera. This is a feature Samsung has had since the Galaxy S9 in 2018, 7 years. Apple is now allegedly adding a feature their main rival debuted 7 years ago. Online, enthusiasts will debate the implementation quality. They'll compare aperture range, speed, precision, but normal users, they won't notice. Most iPhone buyers don't even know what aperture means. They just want better photos. And that's the brilliant part. Apple isn't adding this for spec sheet wars. They're adding it because computational photography has limits. You can only software enhance so much before you need better hardware inputs. This reveals something deeper about Apple's camera strategy. They've been winning smartphone photography with software, Smart HDR, Deep Fusion, photographic styles. But the Android competition, particularly Google with their computational wizardry and Samsung with their hardware diversity, has closed the gap. The variable aperture isn't innovation. It's acknowledgement that the software-first approach needs hardware reinforcement. The C2 modem deserves more attention than it's getting. Apple has been working toward modem independence for years, ever since they bought Intel's modem division in 2019. Qualcomm has been the annoying partner Apple needed but never wanted. This is about supply chain control, yes, but it's also about negotiation leverage. Every iPhone sold with a Qualcomm modem is money leaving Cupertino. Every iPhone with an Apple modem is money staying home. The C2 isn't just a connectivity upgrade. It's Apple completing a vertical integration they've been chasing for half a decade. For normal users, this means nothing day to day. Your 5G will still work, your calls will still connect, but for Apple, this is existential. They've been held hostage by Qualcomm's patent licensing and chip pricing. The C2 modem, if it works, is freedom. And if you've watched Apple long enough, you know they don't tolerate dependencies they can eliminate. The A20 Pro, built on TSMC's first generation 2 nanometer process, this is where the real performance gains live. Manufacturing process improvements don't make for exciting marketing, but they're the foundation of everything else. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Smartphone performance has plateaued for most users. The A19 already handles everything a normal person throws at it. The A20's improvements will matter for specific edge cases: 8K video processing, complex AI features, professional creative workflows, but your Instagram scrolling, identical experience. This is why Apple is pushing Apple Intelligence so hard. They need to create demand for more processing power. The features need the chip needs the features. It's a self-reinforcing cycle that justifies upgrading even when your current phone is perfectly fine. Let's be honest about what the silent majority cares about. Tech Twitter will debate the variable aperture's f-stop range. Reddit will compare A20 benchmarks against Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. YouTube reviewers will produce 40-minute deep dives. Normal users will notice: is the battery better? Is the camera better? Does it still feel premium? The slightly thicker chassis for a bigger battery? That matters more than any spec sheet item. And that's the gap between tech enthusiasm and consumer behavior. Enthusiasts get excited about 2 nanometer processes and custom modems. Consumers get excited about their phone lasting until dinner without charging. Apple knows this. That's why the underwhelming framing is so strategic. It's managing enthusiast expectations while delivering exactly what the broader market actually wants. If you've watched Apple long enough, this pattern feels familiar. They did the same thing with the Apple Watch. The first generation was the star while the iPhone got incremental updates. They did it with AirPods, would launch them alongside a minor iPhone event, and now they're a category-defining product. The Foldable is being positioned as the future. The iPhone 18 Pro is being positioned as the reliable present. This isn't Apple losing interest in their primary product. It's Apple being honest about where the excitement will be and protecting the iPhone line from the hype cycle that inevitably accompanies new form factors. Remember, foldables have a failure rate. The first generation Apple Foldable will have issues. Early adopters know this. Apple knows this. By launching it alongside the iPhone 18 Pro, they're giving themselves a safety net. If the Foldable has problems, the Pro line is there to carry the quarter. If the Foldable succeeds, it justifies their years of waiting. Every product decision reveals a fear. The variable aperture, fear that computational photography alone can't stay ahead of Android. The custom modem, fear of Qualcomm dependency. The simultaneous foldable launch, fear of being perceived as late to a category they could have defined. But the most revealing fear is the underwhelming messaging itself. Apple is telling you through Gurman to lower your expectations. They're saying the iPhone 18 Pro is an S-year upgrade in everything but name. Why? Because they need the foldable to succeed. Samsung's foldables have been improving year after year. Google's Pixel Fold carved out a niche. Chinese manufacturers like Huawei and Xiaomi have been pushing foldable innovation while Apple stayed on the sidelines. The narrative was forming: Apple can't do foldables. The iPhone 18 Pro being positioned as minor is Apple clearing the stage for their response to that narrative, what this actually means. So what should you take away from all this? If you're an enthusiast waiting for a revolutionary iPhone, you'll be disappointed. And Apple is telling you that now, a year early, so you can't say they didn't warn you. If you're a normal user, you're getting exactly what you need: a refined, powerful, reliable device that does everything your current phone does, slightly better. But if you're watching the industry, this is a transition year. Apple is moving their innovation energy into a new form factor while letting their core product mature. It's smart, it's safe, it's exactly what a company worth $3 trillion does when they're preparing for their next decade, not their next quarter. The iPhone 18 Pro isn't underwhelming because Apple ran out of ideas. It's underwhelming because Apple's ideas are going somewhere else. And that's the story most people are missing. The rectangle is solved. Watch what happens next. Peace out.